The stars above Series 9 were quiet. No engines, no alarms, no battles. Just silence. Series 9 was one of the last human colonies on the edge of known space, a small dusty planet, covered in dry hills and quiet skies. But for the human soldiers stationed there, it had become the front line. Not because of war, but because war was coming. Everyone knew it. They had seen the signals. The alien empire of Valari was moving. For weeks, human satellites had tracked their fleet silent, steady, powerful. Hundreds of their long, silver ships drifted across the dark space between stars, heading straight for the human border. No messages, no warnings, no answers. People were afraid. Inside the command center of Series 9, lights blinked on the wall. Holograms showed the size of the Valari fleet. Every day, they moved closer. Commander Ayla stood near the map table, her arms crossed. Her face was calm, but her eyes were tired. Still no reply from Valari. She asked, "No, Commander," replied one of the officers. "They ignore all messages. Not even a signal back." She nodded slowly. "They're not here to talk. They're here to test us." But just as she turned, another officer ran in. "Ma'am," he said, holding a tablet. "High Command has sent someone." Ayla raised an eyebrow. "Reinforcements?" "No, ma'am. A single envoy." That made the room fall silent. "Who?" Ayla asked. The young officer swallowed. "A soldier. Name, Ravi. No rank. Just sent directly from Earth." Ayla stared at the tablet. "One soldier against a fleet?" The officer nodded. "He's already landed. They say he has a message, and he must deliver it to the Valari Queen herself." Ravi stepped off the small shuttle quietly. He wasn't tall or loud. He wore no medals. His uniform was plain, and his boots dusty from travel. The guards looked confused as he passed. "Is that him?" One whispered. "Him?" Another said. "That's the one they sent?" But Ravi didn't respond. He just looked up at the sky. He had never seen the Valari ships in real life, but he could feel them now. Somewhere out there, past the stars, was a queen who ruled an empire that could erase a planet in hours, and he had to speak to her. Alone, Commander Ayla met him at the gates. "You don't look like a diplomat," she said. "I'm not," Ravi replied calmly. "Then why you?" she asked. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But Earth said she would listen to me." Ayla frowned. "You're just one man." Ravi looked at the stars again. "Sometimes that's enough." The next day, a special signal was sent to the Valari fleet. A single shuttle, carrying one human, would approach their flagship. No weapons, no tricks, just words. To everyone's surprise, the Valari accepted. The humans watched in silence as Ravi's shuttle lifted off, a tiny dot moving toward a massive unknown. The Valari ship was like a silver mountain floating in space, silent and beautiful. Its walls glowed with soft blue light. Patterns moved across the surface, like waves of water and light. Inside, alien guards led Ravi through long, narrow halls. The air smelled sweet, like distant flowers. He did not speak. He knew this place was not his. Every step felt like walking into a dream. Finally, he was brought to a high chamber. The room was shaped like a circle, with a ceiling that looked like the night sky. And in the center stood the queen. Xelani. She was tall and elegant, with silver blue skin and bright golden eyes. Her dress shimmered like starlight. Round her stood her closest advisor, silent, watchful, ready. She studied Ravi carefully. "So," she said, her voice soft but strong, "you are the one they sent." Ravi bowed slightly. "Yes, you are not a general. You are not even a leader." "No," he said. "I'm just a soldier." The queen's eyes narrowed. Why would Earth send a soldier to speak with a queen? "I don't know," Ravi said. "But I am here to listen, and to speak if you will allow it." The room fell quiet. "You are not afraid?" she asked. "I have felt fear," he answered. "But I did not come with it." She turned and walked slowly around the room. "Your people move quickly. You take planets. You build fast. You speak loud. We see it all." Ravi stayed still. She continued. "We offered silence. You answered with machines. We stayed away. You sent ships. Why should we trust you? Ravi looked at her calmly. Because you asked a question, and I have an answer. Her golden eyes stared at him. Then speak, human. Ravi looked up, then said, we were alone for too long. That's why we learned to reach out, not to rule. The queen froze. Her advisor shifted slightly, whispering. The guards looked unsure. But the queen said nothing. Ravi stood quietly. No more words. No loud speech. Just that one sentence. In that moment, something changed in the air. Like a breeze in a still room, Queen Zelani looked away, deep in thought. Back on Series 9. Commander Ayla stared at the empty sky. Ravi's signal had gone quiet. No message. No update. She sighed. What did you say, soldier? Above her, the stars remained quiet. But something was different now. Not louder. Just waiting. The room was still. After Ravi spoke the sentence, we were alone for too long. That's why we learned to reach out, not to rule. Not a single sound came from the Velari chamber. Queen Zelani did not blink. Her golden eyes stayed fixed on him. Her mind, however, was moving fast. The sentence was simple, but it felt like it carried weight from another world. Behind her, her advisors whispered quietly in their soft language. Their voices were smooth, like music, but the words were sharp. Trickery, one said. He's just playing with emotion, said another. A trained lie. A third added, humans are clever. Queen Zelani raised one hand. The whispers stopped. She walked slowly toward Ravi. You speak as if your people are kind, she said, voice calm. But we know your history. Earth fought itself for centuries. You hurt your own kind, and then you reached the stars. Ravi nodded. Yes, we made mistakes. Zelani tilted her head. Mistakes. You filled your own sky with smoke. You poisoned your water. You let your people starve. Yes, Ravi said again. But we learned. She stepped closer, her long dress brushing the floor. And now, she asked, now you move from star to star. You build cities on planets that are not yours. You dig and cut and change. What are you learning now? Ravi looked into her eyes. We're learning to listen. The queen turned away. She stood at a tall crystal window that showed the stars outside. Her ship floated between systems, alone and silent, but strong. Do you know, she said slowly, that my people remember silence as peace? Ravi waited. She continued, in the old days, the Velari sat under the blue trees of Velith and listened to the wind. No machines, no noise, just breath and breeze. For us, silence is not fear, it is balance. Ravi spoke gently, and for humans, silence was emptiness. We searched the sky and found nothing for so long. So we built sounds, machines, messages. The queen did not reply. She stared out at the stars, her thoughts hidden like shadows in deep water. Later that day, Ravi was taken to a private chamber. The walls were smooth and glowing. There was no bed, no chair, just a soft floor and a gentle hum in the air. It felt peaceful, but also strange. He sat cross-legged on the floor, breathing slowly. His heart was calm, but his mind was busy. He remembered the faces of the people on Series 9. He remembered Commander Ayla's serious voice, and he remembered the eyes of Queen Zelani, bright, powerful, full of judgment. Did my words reach her? He wondered. Outside the chamber, the Velari guards stood still, like statues. They never spoke. Their armor was thin but strong, shaped like the wings of insects. Their eyes never moved from the door. Time passed. No one spoke to Ravi. No one came. Just silence. Inside her private garden, Queen Zelani walked alone. The garden was not made of flowers, but of memory crystals. Each crystal was shaped like a long leaf, and inside each one floated a single image from Velari history. She passed a green crystal showing her grandmother teaching music to the young. A blue one showed her own birth. A silver one held the last peace meeting with another species, one that had failed. She stopped at a red crystal. Inside, it showed a battlefield. Her father had died there long ago, fighting in silence. Her fingers touched the crystal lightly. We were alone for too long. The sentence kept repeating in her mind. What did he mean? The Velari were never alone. They had history, music, stars, beauty. But perhaps he spoke of something deeper, a loneliness that lived not in space, but in the heart. She called for her advisor, Saren, an elder Velari with eyes like silver moons. "Tell me," she said, "what do the old books say of first contact?" Saren bowed. "They say it is like touching water for the first time, gentle, or it will ripple to far." "And do they say anything of humans?" "They are fast," Saren said carefully. "They build with energy. They act with heart. But some believe they act quickly, before understanding." The queen asked, "And what do you believe?" Saren hesitated. The human, he did not ask for anything. That is strange. Zelani raised an eyebrow. "Strange, yes," Saren said. "Others come asking for trade, for land, for peace." But he asked for nothing. He simply offered a reason. Zelani nodded slowly. Saren added, "He did not even say Earth wanted peace. He said humans reached out not to rule." The queen whispered. "Then what do they want to be seen?" Saren said. "To be known." That evening, Ravi was called again. He was taken to a smaller chamber. No guards inside. Only Queen Zelani and a low table with 2 cups. "Sit," she said. He obeyed. She poured a light blue drink into the cups. It smelled of fruit and wind. "This is the drink of first truth," she said. "In Velari custom, both sides drink when a new path is opened, not peace, not war, just understanding." Ravi nodded and took the cup. They drank. Zelani looked at him for a long time. "You came alone. You brought no weapons. You spoke only one sentence." "Yes." "Why?" "Because I believe words can open hearts faster than ships can open gates." The queen's golden eyes glowed. "You are not like the others." "I'm still human," Ravi said. "But I'm not here to speak for Earth. I'm here to show you how we feel." Zelani leaned back. "And how do you feel, soldier?" he answered. Softly, hopeful, and tired of being alone in the dark, far away on Series 9. Commander Ayla watched the sky again. There was still no war. Still no message. Just silence. But this time, the silence felt different. Not heavy. Not cold. Almost waiting. The stars outside the Velari ship looked calm, but inside the royal chamber, emotions were rising. Queen Zelani sat quietly across from Ravi. Her hands rested on the smooth table between them. Her golden eyes studied his every move round them. The walls of the room glowed gently, shifting colors with the queen's mood, deep blue now, showing thoughtfulness. The air was silent. Ravi had spoken again. He had repeated the same words that had made her pause the first time. "We were alone. For too long. That's why we learned to reach out, not to rule." The words floated in the air, soft but heavy. Zelani's fingers moved slowly on the table, tracing a small glowing pattern. She didn't speak yet. She was not a ruler who reacted quickly. She was known for her long thinking, for her deep listening. Ravi sat still, his hands on his lap, his face calm. But inside, he could feel the tension. He had no weapon, no backup, no army behind him, just those words and a heart full of belief. Finally, the queen spoke. "Where did you learn this sentence?" she asked softly. "I wrote it myself," Ravi said. She raised one eyebrow. "It does not sound like a soldier's words." "I am a soldier," Ravi replied, "but I am also human. We are not only fighters. We are dreamers too." Zelani leaned back in her chair. Her advisor stood behind her, still and silent, unsure what to make of this human. "You speak of loneliness," she said, "as if it makes your kind peaceful." "It doesn't," Ravi admitted, "but it makes us search. We search for meaning, for life, for others. That's why we sent signals into space. Long before we had ships, we were trying to find someone. Someone like us?" Zelani asked. "No," Ravi said. "Someone different. Someone like you." Zelani rose from her seat and began walking slowly around the room. "You see difference as something to welcome," she said. Ravi nodded. "Yes, because it teaches us." She stopped and turned. "But not all humans are like you. Some bring war. Some bring greed." "I know," Ravi said quietly. We are not perfect. Then why should I believe you? She asked. Ravi looked up. Because I'm not asking you to believe in us. I'm asking you to believe in the chance of something better. Her eyes narrowed slightly. A chance? Yes, Ravi said. A chance that we don't have to fear each other. A chance that this meeting could be more than just a warning. It could be a beginning. The queen returned to her seat. For a moment, there was silence again. Then she said, "Tell me more." Ravi was surprised, but he nodded. He began to speak not with big words or long speeches, but with small, honest stories. He told her about a time on Earth when two countries almost went to war, but a single letter stopped it. He told her about a mission on Mars, where people from 5 different nations build something together and save each other's lives. He told her about his mother, who used to sit by the window at night and watch the stars, wondering if someone was out there. Also watching. Queen Zelani listened. Her advisors whispered once, but she silenced them with a wave of her hand. "You speak not with power," she said, "but with feeling." "Yes," Ravi said, "because sometimes that's stronger." Later, after Ravi was led back to his resting room, Queen Zelani walked into her private thought chamber. This room was silent, filled with floating crystals that responded to her thoughts. Each time she passed near one, it glowed and played a memory. One crystal showed her coronation. Another showed her first decision as queen. Another showed the face of her father, who had once told her, "Trust is the first gate to peace." But only the brave open it. She stared at that crystal for a long time. Was she brave enough now? Meanwhile, Ravi sat on the soft floor of his room. He closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He didn't know what the queen would do. He had no idea if his words had done enough. But he had spoken truthfully. That was all he could offer. Back on Earth, people waited. On Series 9, Commander Ayla still stood in front of the star map. The Velari fleet had stopped moving. That gave her hope but not peace. "They're watching him," she said. "They're testing him." A young officer asked, "What if he fails?" Ayla looked at the stars. "Then we go back to fear," she said. "But if he succeeds, we might finally step out of it on the Velari ship." The queen called a private meeting with only her most trusted advisor, Saren. He says they were alone, she told him. Saren nodded. Humans evolved with the stars silent. They had no guide. Yet they found their way here, she said. To us, Saren looked thoughtful. Perhaps that is why they are bold, and why they speak with such heart. The queen walked to the wide window, looking at Earth's sun in the distance. "Can the heart of one man show the mind of many?" she asked. Saren answered, "Perhaps not the mind, but maybe the hope." The next day, Ravi was invited again to the royal chamber. He entered quietly. This time, no guards stood inside. Only the queen and her circle of advisors. The room's color was now a soft purple, a color of change and Velari culture. Queen Zelani stood. "You were sent here with no army, no weapon, only words," she said. "Yes," Ravi replied. She looked at him closely. "And yet, your words were heard." Ravi stayed silent. She stepped forward. "There will be no war. Not today." A quiet gasp came from one advisor. Another whispered quickly in protest. But the queen raised her hand again. "I have seen something in you," she said. "Not weakness, not lies, but something rare, honesty." Ravi felt a wave of emotion rise in him, but he kept his face still. The queen added, "You may return to your people. Tell them the war is paused." Paused, Ravi asked gently. "For now," she said. "But only if they are willing to speak more, to show more." He nodded. "They will." She stared at him. "One sentence," she said, "can change the course of stars." Ravi bowed deeply. "Then I'm glad I brought the right one." The Velari royal ship floated silently above a moon covered in silver ice. The stars blinked softly beyond, like tiny lamps in the dark. Inside the ship, Queen Zelani sat alone in her memory garden. She had sent Ravi back to his rest chamber after telling him the war was paused. Her words had surprised even her closest advisors. But inside, she felt calm. She stared at the floating memory crystals. Each one held a scene from her life, from her family, and from the long history of the Velari. She stopped near a crystal shaped like a flower. It glowed green. Inside it, a young Zilani sat on a stone bench beside her mother. A warm wind blew. Through blue trees, her mother sang a song soft, old, and full of sadness. Why does the song sound sad? Young Zilani had asked. Because it remembers, her mother said. Our people once feared everything different. We stayed away from others. But then we listened. And we changed. Zilani touched the crystal gently. Had her people forgotten how to listen? In his room, Ravi was sitting cross-legged again. The air was still. He had not been told anything more after the Queen's message. The war is paused. Paused. Not cancelled. Not forgotten. Just waiting. He remembered the Queen's words. One sentence can change the course of stars. But one sentence was not enough to change hearts. He knew this was only the beginning. The next day, Queen Zilani called for a quiet meeting with her circle of knowledge keepers. These were not military leaders. They were elders, thinkers, and historians. Tell me what the old songs say, Zilani asked. The head keeper, a soft-spoken Velari named Mine, stepped forward. Her voice was gentle, but her words were clear. In the oldest songs, Mine said, we remember the time before light. Our people lived in caves of silence. We feared sound. We feared change. But then the stars called. We followed. We opened ourselves to new worlds, and we promised never to fear difference again. Another keeper, Tyron, added, the humans' words, we learned to reach out, not to rule. They echo the promise of our own ancestors. Zilani nodded. Then why are we preparing for war? The keepers fell silent. Across the galaxy, on Earth's communication station, news of the pause reached the leaders. Commander Ayla watched the message carefully. It was short and formal. War status, pause by order of Queen Zilani. Human envoy respected. Future dialogue considered. Ayla looked at her staff. It's working, she said. He's still alive. And she's listening. An officer asked, should we send more people? More messages? No, Ayla said. Not yet. If we move too fast, we might break the trust he built. We wait. On the Velari ship, Ravi was invited again. This time, he was taken to a large hall filled with glowing panels and long, narrow lights. The Queen waited near the center, but she wasn't alone. A group of young Velari stood with her. Their eyes were bright. Their robes were simple. They were students learners of peace and culture. Queen Zilani spoke to Ravi. These are the future voices of Velari. They will not fight. They will learn. Ravi smiled gently. I'm honored. One young Velari named Nira stepped forward. Her voice was soft but curious. Why do humans move so fast? She asked. Why do you always build and spread and explore? Ravi thought for a moment, then replied. Because we lived for so long on just one world. We had only one sky, one moon, one sun. When we saw that there were more, we couldn't stop ourselves. We had to see what was out there. Another student, Kellen, asked, are you not afraid of breaking things, of changing too much? Ravi nodded. We are afraid, but sometimes we learn only by trying. The students looked at each other, whispering softly. Queen Zilani watched. Then she turned to Ravi. You have planted a seed, she said. Now we must see if it grows. That night, Zilani walked again through her memory garden. She passed a crystal showing her first council meeting. Another showed the birth of her younger sister, now living on a far planet. She stopped near a rare crystal dark blue, almost black. Inside, it showed her sitting alone. Many years ago, after a failed peace treaty, she had trusted another species. Once, they had tricked her. The treaty was broken. Velari ships had been attacked. Lives were lost. She had cried that day, not for the war, but for the trust that was lost. She placed her hand on the crystal. Am I ready to trust again? She whispered. The crystal glowed softly, not with memory, but with hope. The next morning, the Queen sent a new message not to Earth, but to her own empire. It was broadcast from her ship to every Velari world. The message was short. We are not stepping back. We are stepping forward. The human we met did not speak of control. He spoke of connection. I ask all Valari to remember who we were, who we are, and who we may become. The war is not needed. The voice of one may guide the hearts of many. On far Valari cities, people listened. Some were surprised, some were confused. But many were silent not with anger, but with thought. Ravi was called once more to the queen. She met him in a high room with a view of space. The stars looked close. The room was open, with no guards, no chairs, just the two of them standing together. You spoke with honesty, she said. You did not ask for anything. You only gave. Ravi replied. Sometimes giving is the beginning of trust. She looked at the stars. You spoke of being alone, of reaching out. I understand now. Loneliness does not make war. Fear does. Ravi said nothing. He let her speak. Zalani turned to him. And I am tired of fear. He bowed. Then we are the same. In that moment, something passed between them. Not a treaty, not an agreement, just understanding. To beings from different stars, different lives, different paths connected by a single idea. Not everything different is dangerous. The queen walked slowly toward a small device near the window. She pressed a soft glowing circle. A soft sound played an old Valari song. It was the same one her mother had sung by the blue trees long ago. She looked at Ravi. We listened once, she said, and we will listen again. The news spread across the Valari Empire like wind through silent forests. The queen had paused the war. The message was played on every planet, space station, and learning hall. Some listened with open hearts, others frowned in silence. But no, one could ignore it. For many Valari, this was the first time they heard a human voice without anger or fear. Ravi's simple sentence was repeated again and again across networks. We were alone for too long. That's why we learned to reach out, not to rule. At first, many thought it was only words, but something in those words stayed inside people's minds. A quiet voice, a soft light, on the green planet Velos 4. A young artist named Taya painted a mural on a tall wall near the city center. She painted stars reaching toward each other, not to fight but to touch, below the stars. She painted a small human and a tall Valari, not with weapons, but with hands open. Some passersby stopped. They watched silently, others smiled. Some took pictures and shared them with the message, from dark to light, not for rule but for reach. It became a chant. In the Valari capital, Queen Zalani stood before her council again. Some members were not pleased. High Advisor Rican, tall and serious, stepped forward. My queen, he said, you spoke to the human alone. You delayed war, without full agreement from this council. Zalani nodded calmly. I did. Rican raised his voice slightly, and now the people are confused. They ask if our strength has weakened. The people are not confused, she replied. They are curious. They are listening. Another council member, Jorel, added, we trained for this war for years. Our ships are ready. Our soldiers prepared, and they may still be needed, Zalani said softly. But not today. Not for this. The room fell silent. Then Saren, her trusted advisor, stepped forward. Let us hear what the people say, he suggested. Zalani nodded. Then let us listen. Messages began arriving from across the Valari worlds. Some were private, sent to the queen directly. Others were shared openly on star-net. Many were simple. One from a teacher on Yari 6 read, I used your words in class. Today, the children asked if humans dream like we do. I said yes. A pilot from Drenner Station wrote, if the human came with peace. Perhaps peace deserves a voice too. And a young girl from Navari City sent a small voice message. Her voice was soft, her words even softer. I hope he was kind. Queen Zalani listened to them all. Meanwhile, on Series 9, Commander Ayla finally received the full report. Ravi was alive. He had spoken with the queen. The war was paused, and now a question had been sent to Earth. If Valari open a path of learning, will Earth walk beside them? Ayla read the message twice. Then she sent a reply to Earth Command. This may not be a treaty, she said, but it's something greater. It's a door on the Villari ship. Ravi sat with a group of young students again. They asked him more questions. Do humans feel stars like we do? Nira asked. Ravi smiled. We watch them. We wonder about them. We write songs about them. Do you have memory gardens? Kellen asked. We have pictures, stories. Some use digital crystals, but most keep memories in their hearts. The students listened with wide eyes. Then one student, a quiet boy named Leonard, asked, Why didn't you come with power? Why just a sentence? Ravi replied. Because power can make people obey, but only words can make people choose. The room fell quiet. Even the guards outside paused to listen. That evening, Queen Zilani visited Ravi once more. They walked through a long hallway, lined with glowing glass. Your words have stirred my people, she said. Some agree, some question, but they are all speaking. That's the first step, Ravi said. Talking. The queen stopped near a wide window. The Villari are not used to changing paths so quickly, she said. Neither are humans, Ravi answered. But sometimes something new happens and the path changes itself. She turned to him. My people wish to learn more. Not from leaders, from regular humans, children, teachers, artists. Ravi's face lit up. Then let them ask, we'll answer. The next morning, Queen Zilani made a public speech. This time, it was not just for her empire. She sent it through special channels one's Earth could receive. Her voice was calm and clear. We were ready for war, but we were met with a single voice, a quiet one. He did not demand peace. He showed it. The Villari do not fear peace. We now ask Earth, will you speak back? Not with ships, with souls? Let us learn together. Let us build something that both our people can walk upon. The message was played across human colonies, on Earth, on Mars, on the moons of Jupiter. It was not a command. It was not a warning. It was an invitation. People began responding. Videos were sent from schools, drawings from children, poems from old storytellers, a song from a farmer on Mars that ended with the words, we reached out, you answered. Now let's walk. Back on the Villari ship, Ravi watched the responses on a shared screen. He saw a young girl from India saying hello in her language. He saw a boy from Ghana explaining how he made music from empty cans. He saw a small family on Luna holding hands and saying, thank you for listening. Ravi felt his chest tighten, not with fear but with pride. He turned to the queen, who stood beside him. This is what Earth is, he said. Not just machines, not just science. We are heart. She looked at him, and that heart has been heard. Later, she sent a final message to all Villari systems. The human soldier did not stop a war with power. He stopped it with a sentence. And now, we will write new ones together. Across the empire, people smiled, from dark to light. A bridge had started to grow. 2 weeks had passed since the Queen of Villari paused the war. 2 weeks since Ravi's words were heard across both galaxies. In that short time, something unexpected happened. Not a treaty, not a mission, but a connection. The humans called it the first bridge. The Villari called it the listening path. Inside the Earth Space Council building, located on the peaceful island of Pacifica 7, Ravi sat with 3 leaders from Earth and language teachers. One was a tall woman named Hira, known for building peace programs between human colonies. The second was a calm older man named Bao, a writer of human history. And the third was Commander Ayla, who knew Ravi's true strength was not in his rank, but in his heart. The screen in front of them showed Queen Zilani, along with a few Villari advisors and young students. Both sides sat in silence for a moment. Then the queen spoke. We do not come with weapons. We come with voices. Ravi nodded. So do we? The meeting was simple, but full of meaning. It was not about land, trade, or power. It was about trust. Both sides agreed to begin something new. A peaceful exchange. One group of humans would visit Villari planets to learn and teach. One group of Villari would come to human colonies to observe and share. No soldiers. No secrets. Only students, artists, builders, and listeners. They called it Project Open Hands. Ravi was not chosen to lead the project. He was not sad. He was chosen to be something even more important, a guide, not just for humans or Valari, but for both. He would help build the first shared station in space, not human, not Valari, but both. It would be placed between the stars, a place of learning, music, art, and dreams. They named it Unity Point. Construction began fast. Valari builders, with their floating crystal tools, worked side by side with human engineers using machines and scanners. At first, it was awkward. A Valari worker named Sarah kept confusing human gravity settings. A human technician named Louise accidentally started a zero-gravity dance by tripping over a floating toolkit. Everyone laughed. And slowly, the awkwardness became friendship. One day, Ravi met a young Valari girl named Talon. She came to Unity Point with her parents, both artists. Talon was curious. She followed Ravi everywhere, asking questions. Why are your eyes different? Why do humans sing so much? Why do you always smile when I ask silly things? Ravi answered each question with patience. Our eyes see different stars. We sing because we carry many stories. And I smile because your questions make me happy. Talon giggled and said, then I will ask more. Meanwhile, Earth Command and the Valari Council continued to support the project. But not everyone was happy. Some human soldiers asked why they trained for years if there would be no battle. Some Valari warriors asked why their strength was no longer needed. But the leaders gave one simple answer, because the true strength is in peace. And over time, those who once prepared for war began building peace walls, planting memory gardens, and writing stories. At Unity Point, every day felt like something new. Ravi joined classes where Valari children taught humans how to paint with light. He watched human kids teach Valari how to play chess and dance on one foot. One evening, a concert was held. A Valari harp player and a human flute player performed together for the first time. Their music was soft, slow, and full of stars. Ravi sat quietly in the back, listening. He didn't speak, but he smiled. Later that night, Ravi sent a short message to his mother on Earth. It read, we did not win a war. We opened a door, and now we are walking through it, slowly, together. His mother replied, I always knew you were meant for more than war. Back in the Valari capital, Queen Zelani visited her own memory garden. It was quiet there. Soft lights moved through the air, touching the leaves gently. She placed a small stone on the path. A new memory. The stone was smooth, with Ravi's words carved on it. We were alone too long. A young Valari boy entered the garden. He was not royal, just curious. He saw the queen and asked, is that about the human? She nodded. Why did you listen to him? He asked. The queen smiled. Because sometimes one voice speaks for many. Soon, Unity Point prepared for its first open visit. People from Earth and the Valari Empire would come not as leaders or soldiers, but as friends and dreamers. Some brought books, some brought seeds. Some brought musical instruments made of glass, stone, and light. Ravi stood near the airlock when the first group arrived. He saw wide eyes, big smiles, and a few nervous steps. He spoke softly, you're safe here. This place is built by peace. One human girl whispered to her father, this feels like a story. Ravi smiled again. It is, and you're part of it. And so, for the first time in history, two different species shared stories, space, and songs. No war. No demands, only one shared step forward. Not fast, not perfect, but full of hope. And that was enough. The day dawned softly on Unity Point, the space station floating quietly between two stars. Ravi stood by a large window, watching the colors of the galaxy swirl gently outside. Ships from both Earth and the Valari Empire were arriving, bringing visitors who came not to fight, but to learn. The station buzzed softly with voices, laughter, and the hum of new ideas. This was no longer just a project. It was a home for two worlds. Suddenly, an alert rang through the station. Ravi turned and saw a Valari messenger entering quickly. Queen Zelani sends an urgent request for your presence. The messenger said with respect. Ravi nodded and hurried to the communication room. The screen lit up. Queen Zelani's face appeared, calm but serious. Ravi, she said, we have discovered something important on one of our outer worlds. I want you and a team to come with me. Ravi's heart quickened. Tell me more, he said. There is a place called Velith Prime, she explained. It holds an ancient secret of the Velari. Something lost in time. We believe it may hold a message for both our peoples. Within hours, Ravi was aboard the Queen's ship, along with a small team of Velari explorers and human scientists. The journey was quiet but full of anticipation. Velith Prime was a distant, forgotten world covered in thick forests and tall blue trees, the same trees from the Queen's childhood memories. When they landed, the air was cool and fresh. Strange flowers glowed faintly, and soft winds carried sounds that felt like whispers. Queen Zelani led the way into the heart of the forest. After walking for some time, they reached an ancient temple made of shining crystal and carved stone. The walls were covered with glowing symbols, old Velari writing that few could read. Ravi touched one symbol gently. It shined beneath his fingers. Suddenly, the walls began to glow, and a soft voice filled the air. It was a message, not spoken, but felt. The message told a story of a time when the Velari were truly alone before they met any other species. It spoke of loneliness and fear, but also of hope, of a promise made long ago, that when other beings came, the Velari would listen first. That peace was the true path, even if it was the hardest. The message ended with a single symbol circle, open at one side. Queen Zelani smiled softly. This is the symbol of reach, she said. The circle means connection. The open side means invitation. Ravi looked at the symbol and felt warmth spread through him. The team spent hours exploring the temple, finding more symbols and stories. Some told of Velari explorers who once tried to conquer other worlds and failed. Others spoke of Velari artists who painted peace with colors of the sky. But the strongest message was clear. No one should ever be alone again. Back on Unity Point, Ravi and the Queen shared the discovery with both Velari and human leaders. The ancient message became a new symbol for their growing friendship. It was painted on the walls of Unity Point. It was sewn onto patches worn by teachers and students. It was spoken in songs sung in both languages. One evening, Ravi stood outside under the vast stars. Queen Zelani joined him. They looked at the open circle symbol glowing gently on the station's tower. Your sentence, the Queen said softly, did more than pause a war. It reminded us of who we were. Ravi smiled. It was never just my sentence, he said. It was the hope of many who want to reach out. Zelani nodded. Now, the Velari and humans have a new promise. To never let loneliness make fear again. Ravi looked up. What will come next? The Queen smiled. The next sentence is up to us, together, as the stars watched silently. Two worlds once strangers became friends, all because one human soldier said a simple sentence, and because one alien queen chose to. Listen. End of part 7.